I'm 68. That matters. 68 is an age where your back forgives, your patience doesn't. And you've learned the exact sound a lie makes when it lands on your doorstep. Mine arrived as a tiny click on Friday, October 20th, 2023. At 3:31 p.m. I slid my brass key into the front lock on Sycamore Drive and met a stranger. The key turned. The bolt in. I had a paper bag sweating through at the bottom, eggs, milk, a loaf of sourdough, one of those Costco rotisserie chickens, heavy with hot juice, and white chrysanthemums I'd bought on purpose because Madison hates white chrysanthemums. Flowers for funerals and cheap church lobbies, she once said. I set the bag on the top step and knocked. Simple knuckles. Old knuckles. Curtain flick. A blue eye appeared. Not the house's. Hers. Madison, I said to the wood. Silence. Then my phone made a soft, guilty buzz. TY, hey Dad, can we talk later? Maddie's resting. Me. With her eyes open? No reply. I sat down on the step and arranged the bag so the chicken wouldn't leak on my pants. The air smelled like sweet rot. Fallen lemons turning under the lemon tree. The stucco, warm oatmeal color held the late sun like a secret. Inside, I could hear the Bosch dishwasher purr and stop, the refrigerator compressor latch and unlatch, and the IC tick down. Houses have heartbeats. I know this one's because I paid for the heart. April 27th, 2021. I wired $156,000 for the down payment in closing, signed a 30-year for the remainder, and took title in my name only. Soul. Singular. Like a letter standing up alone on a blank page. I did it for my son. Tyler had been bouncing between rentals that smelled like old paint and dog. He needed room. He needed a roof that didn't move when a neighbor sneezed. He also needed to stop saying later to everything that mattered. I thought a house might make him earlier. They changed the lock. People say locks are protection. They're not. They're a declaration. They say, this place obeys me now. At 4:12 p.m. I drove back to my one-bedroom at the senior complex off Glen Oaks where the elevator smells like folded newspapers and arguments about blood pressure. I ate the chicken standing up at the kitchen counter, grease cooling in a coin on my wrist. The TV broadcast football on mute. Big men sprinting nowhere. I watched them and saw myself. Then I took out my leather folder with the title and the mortgage statements and the ugly little receipts that add up to a life, and I said out loud, all right, there's more than one way to knock. I didn't stumble into that house. I hunted it. I had spreadsheets. I had a list that said 3 beds, 2 baths, 1 lemon tree if we're lucky, within 10 minutes of a park. April 2021. We found it. The third beige ranch on the good side of Sycamore. You know the kind, flat and honest, no useless angles, a garage big enough for tools and dreams. We stood under the sold sign with those fake realtor smiles and a gust of wind that turned Madison's hair into a banner. She wanted Spanish modern farmhouse, 3 words you should not let out of the car together. Tyler wanted a place to practice on his drum kit without a neighbor throwing a shoe at the wall. I wanted my son to belong somewhere he didn't have to apologize for. Down payment. Wired. Closing costs. Bled. The numbers were clean. $780,000 purchase. $3,712.44 monthly mortgage. Insurance $154. Property tax $7,800 a year. Neatly impounded nibbling. The deed said Richard Samuels and unmarried man. I stared longer at unmarried than I did at the dollar signs. Leah's name faded and then it was just mine. Grief does that. Erases, but leaves the impression in the paper. We renovated with coupons and stubbornness. Madison picked matte black faucets that looked like licorice. Tyler and I wrestled an IKEA dresser into existence and didn't kill each other in the process. I installed ceiling fans while my knees protested like a union. We bought a gray sectional that could seat 8 or 2. 2 is lonelier. A shag rug that eats socks. An acacia dining table from a clearance corner that glowed like a varnished pond. In the garage, I built a workbench out of 2x4s. And the need to use my hands for something besides writing checks. The guest room was mine when I stayed over. Full bed, whispering drawers, 2 pairs of socks in the nightstand, and a key on a hook by the garage door. That key meant trust. It also meant I had made a mistake I couldn't see yet. The first night, Thai food out of plastic containers. Basil and fish sauce perfuming the new paint. Madison laughed. like she'd practiced, and Tyler laughed like he believed laughter could fix his past. I rinsed plates at the matte black sink and thought we might do it. We might actually be happy here. I kept the sold photo in my folder. Evidence. If generosity ever turned into a weapon, I wanted proof that I hadn't started the war. Money started out conversational. Dad, can you spot us until Friday? Just this once promise. Emergency. The emergencies war makeup. December 2021. A screenshot of a hospital bill, $8,640, with a crying emoji and a clock. I sent $9,000. Zelle $4,900. Then a small wire to cover the rest. February 2022. Deposits to hold a wedding venue, $12,500. The wedding never happened. The party did. Spring. The Audi made a crying baby noise, Madison's phrase, and they needed a bridge to fix it, $18,900. Summer. Work slowed down. Her work was holding boxes in good light and telling strangers to click, $6,800 to float. September. Crowns for her molars, $5,400. October. Rent before their rent was due, $9,700 to keep the lights on, paid by a man who pays the lights anyway. November. They added themselves to my Amex for points and spent $7,200 in a single desert weekend that seemed to involve a DJ named Sir Shakes and a bottle service wolf. By Christmas, we'd quietly crossed $52,400 in temporary. I kept a ledger. I write numbers down. It's not stingy. It's respectful. Madison said keeping track made me controlling. Tyler said it's not about the money, Dad, which is exactly what you say when it is about the money. Come March 2023, the conversation shifted. We need boundaries. I'm always suspicious of the we in a sentence like that. We were sitting at the acacia table. Madison said it like she was leading a meeting she could fire me from. It's time we talk about you paying rent for the guest suite, she said, and the word suite hit me in the face with a glove. $2,000 a month. Fair. Tyler avoided eye contact, buttered toast like he was sanding it. Fair, I said. Is a discount. I don't like your tone, Madison said. I don't like your math, I said. We all smiled. Some smiles have teeth. In October, the lock had a new smile of its own. If you believe older voices still matter, support this channel with a like and a subscription. Saturday, the day after the lock, I got up at 6 and made coffee you could pave a road with. 2 slices of sourdough, buttered, salted. I like to sprinkle the salt by hand. Feels like I'm correcting a small mistake in the universe. At 9:13 a.m., I drove back to Sycamore in my brown jacket and my polished shoes, the ones they always said made me look like a professor who eats fruit. The key performed its choreography. Slide. Turn. Useless. I knocked. The lemon tree didn't care. The front door did. Madison opened halfway. She leaned her palm on the jamb like she'd seen someone do that in a show about queens. Leggings that meant money. Sweater that said weekends in college girl font. Her hair made a curtain. Her eyes were puddles you avoid, because what looks shallow isn't. We changed the locks, she said, savoring. I noticed. I kept my hands in my pockets. Why? Boundaries, she said. You come and go. It's destabilizing, that Tyler's therapist said. You fired his therapist in July, Madison, I said pleasantly. Because, she suggested, you keep separate accounts. Her jaw made a tiny click. We've paid you a lot of rent. We should discuss the misuse of the word rent, I said. She tried to close the door. I placed my palm flat, felt the soft fight of new weather stripping. You live in a house I bought. I pay mortgage, tax, insurance, the electric, the gas. The robot that reminds you to change its filter is also on my card. And you changed the lock. Tyler said you could pick up your things Sunday, she said. We'll leave your boxes on the porch. I laughed. It came out too loud, like a gavel in a small court. My things, I said. Madison, my name is on the deed. She smiled, and it wasn't friendly. So, she said, you act like a guest. She closed the door. The latch clicked again, that small Caesar sound. I stood there until the blood left my ears and the lemon tree inhaled. Then I walked to my car and drove home without the chicken or the flowers. It's good to leave something behind when you plan to return. Makes it feel less like vengeance and more like housekeeping. Paperwork saved me once. It can do it twice. After Leah died in 2016, I learned to speak the language of forms. Condolence letters wrapped around requests for signatures. Check here if your heart is broken. Initial to confirm that you are the same man on the marriage certificate and the death certificate and the electric bill. I got very neat. Monday, October 23 RD, 10:00 M. I sat in a beige office that smelled like copier warm-up and boiled coffee. Angela Ortiz, my attorney, 52, wore navy incompetence. She keeps a bowl of fruit on her desk that no one touches. She slid my folder toward her and flipped, eyes moving like a scanner. The grant deed, the mortgage statements, the April 27th wire, the insurance declarations. My tidy little life laid out like organ stops. Sole owner, she said, tapping the deed. You never added them? No, I said. My late wife taught me that generosity and titles don't belong in the same sentence. Good. You gave them a written lease. I shook my head. Informal. I'm old-fashioned about trust. Then, legally, they're month-to-month occupants at your pleasure. She smiled with just one side of her mouth. You're not pleased. They changed the locks, I said. Perfect, she said. She pulled a form and started filling it out. We'll post a 24-hour notice to quit out of politeness. Follow with an unlawful detainer if they test us. Meanwhile, we can change the locks back. Do it with a civil standby from a sheriff. People behave better when they see a badge. I want more than my lock back, I said. Angela looked up. I want to sell. Now, she said. Now. I looked at the deed again. The letters solid as roofing nails. I'm done renting out my sanity. Angela picked up her phone. I like now, she said. I'll call Ruth. Ruth is Ruth Stoller, realtor with the energy of a cheerleader who learned contracts. She answered on the first ring. Wednesday, Angela told her. 9 a.m. bring a buyer if you're a magician. She is, I said. Angela also called Sal a locksmith who says buddy and means it. Then she dialed the Burbank Sheriff Station and scheduled a civil standby for Wednesday morning. I signed forms that used the phrase quiet enjoyment in an accusatory tone. I initialed the revocation of any informal rights my misplaced kindness had suggested. I left with copies and a plan. Tuesday, I ate a dry ham sandwich and read my ledger. Numbers calmed me. The ledger said what my son could not. $52,400 in transfers and rescues and bailouts, plus $7,200 in Amex fund. The ledger is how you tell the truth without raising your voice. Wednesday, 8:00 a.m. The street had that silver tone that makes cars look gentler than they are. Sal the locksmith arrived in a hoodie and jeans, and the face of a man who has opened more doors than most people knock on. At 8:22, a patrol car slid to the curb and Deputy Alvarez stepped out, trim and unhurried. Morning, sir, he said to me. Morning, I said back, and my breath in fog. California winter. It smirks. I knocked. The house remembered my bones. Madison opened and widened like a theater curtain preparing to frame a tragedy. This is harassment, she announced to both of her cameras. She held her phone at chin, level like a scepter. Ma'am, Deputy Alvarez said, calm enough to flatten arguments. We are here for a civil standby while the titled owner secures his property. Tyler peered behind her, rumpled, a bagel in one hand. Dad, he said low, please, not like this. Like this? I said out loud. Sal went to work with quiet respect, his tools chattering in small metal phrases. The lock side opened the way a stubborn jar. Gives up? Madison filmed. This man is forcing his way into our home, she narrated. My name is on the deed, I said, so her viewers would hear a complete sentence. Deputy Alvarez taped the notice to quit on the door with blue painter's tape, a neat rectangle of authority. 24 hours to vacate. The words might as well have had teeth. Madison read them, and her mouth went thin. Tyler rubbed his temple the way he used to when math problems got loud. A silver SUV rolled up behind the patrol car, and out stepped Ruth in a blazer the color of good intentions, and a scarf that said she wasn't cold. With her came a man in a navy polo and clean sneakers, mid-50s, measuring tape already in his hand. Good morning, Ruth sang, as if we were all at brunch. This is Kenya Mata, .9 o'clock showing. You can't show our house, Madison snapped. Mine, I said friendly. Angela arrived 2 minutes later. Navy suit, neat bun, a folder under her arm. She smiled at Madison the way a math teacher smiles at a student who keeps dividing by zero. "If your counsel wants to call me," she said, "have them do it now." Madison put her phone to her ear. No one called. The neighbors collected slowly. Dug across the street, hedge clippers poised. Mrs. Greenberg in a robe, a jogger who pretended to stretch. Los Angeles loves a free show and hates to admit it. Sal changed both front and back locks. The new keys sat easy in my palm. Possession is a small weight. It felt right. We toured while Madison filmed. You can do both, apparently. The Bosch hummed a blessing. The acacia table shone as if it understood it was on stage. Ken ran his fingers along the hallway wall and nodded at the work I'd done patching nail holes after Madison's gallery of inspirational quotes came down. "Good bones," he said. "Sturdy skin," I said back. He smiled. He's a physical therapist, owns a handful of clinics. He walks like he's listened to pain and taken notes. He peered into corners. He squatted to look at the baseboards. He opened the water heater closet like a man greeting an old friend. "New in June?" he asked. "June," I said. "Ream, 40-gallon. I did the valve myself. Ruth threw the blinds open, and the light came in with opinions. Madison followed, narrating for her followers like a tour guide for the wrong museum. "This is our kitchen where we cooked, and he's stealing. Words matter," Angela murmured to me. "So do documents." We stepped into the backyard. 3 lemons hung on the tree like coins. Ken looked up, smiled. "I like a tree that sets modest goals," he said. Ruth exhaled her retail breath. "We're listing at $849,000, she told him. "Market's friendly. The seller would like to move briskly." Ken didn't blink. $825,000, he said. "All cash. 30-day close. We'll take it as is. Occupancy at recording." Madison made a sound I had only heard once before from a cat stuck behind the washing machine. Tyler squeezed his bagel and left a thumbprint in the bread. Ruth's eyebrows asked me a question. I nodded. $25,000 non-refundable deposit, I said. "Friday. I want the right to rent back for 14 days for $1 if needed." Ken shook. "Done," he said, simple as a hinge moving. He has a grip, like a man who fixes you without making you feel broken. Angela named Glen Oaks escrow. Ruth produced contracts out of her folio like a magician pulling doves. Ken signed, I initialed, I signed, Ken initialed. Blue ink, names on lines. The little choreography of ending and beginning. Deputy Alvarez stood quiet, making the air behave. Madison filmed. Tyler sank into the sectional, our aircraft carrier of a couch, and stared at the floor like it was an ocean. "Dad," he said finally without looking up, "can we talk?" "After," I said. Ruth posted a coming soon placard for the neighborhood theater. Angela taped a notice of sale next to the notice to quit. I watched Madison read both, her face practicing expressions and choosing none. She blinked. She ran her tongue across her teeth. She looked at Tyler and found no help there. She called her mother. We finished our tour, where all tragedies end, the driveway. Ken shook my hand again and said, "I like this house." I said, "It did the best it could." He smiled. "People should, too." They didn't leave like people who had learned manners. Thursday night, I got a text with a photo of 3 cardboard boxes on the porch and your stuff. Inside, a sweater I never wore, a photo of me and Leah at the Grand Canyon bent, a screwdriver set mixed sizes, and a holiday candle that smelled like vanilla denial. The frame sold photo was missing. Friday morning, the $25,000 hit escrow. The wire confirmation sat on my phone like a small sunrise. I scheduled a moving truck for myself for Saturday, not because I needed one, but because spite is an old man's cardio. Angela returned with Deputy Collins, mustache, gentler tone, same authority. Ruth, punctual, walked through with a clipboard and a smile that never encountered a slope it couldn't climb. Madison tried to claim the acacia table. "It's ours," she said, palm flat on it like a pilgrim blessing a rock. "We ate here." "It's inventoried as the owner's personal property," Angela said, light as paper and just as sharp. "That's not fair," Madison said. "Fair would have been not changing the lock," I said, and that one landed. Tyler stood in the doorway, quiet and older than he'd been the day before. He held a tote bag and looked at it like it might explain something. We did what Angela called the separation of goods. They took the primary bed, purchased on my Amex last year, Merry Christmas, the 65-inch TV, same. The glass jars Madison used to pretend that decanting made her disciplined. They left the cat. They said it was temporary. The cat looked at me and shrugged. I fed it. It blinked like a judge. At 4:10 p.m., a courier handed Madison a thin envelope. She fanned it open with her manicured nails. Angela stood with her arms crossed like punctuation. "What is this?" Madison asked cold. "A civil demand," Angela said, itemizing your unjust enrichment and the interference with Mr. Samuels's quiet enjoyment, along with a request that you cease filming him and posting his image without consent. "We've captured your accounts and IP. Please forward to counsel." Madison's face changed color like a traffic light, red to white to nothing. Tyler said quietly, "Maddie." She spun. "Don't you Maddie me," she snapped. I went to the garage. Tyler followed. He held a small plastic bin with my pliers and the level and a box of screws. He waited until we were alone to speak. "Dad," he said. His voice broke on the second letter. I'm sorry." "You are," I said. "The question is, for how long?" "For good," he said, a boy's promise. "There's math," I said. "I'm not good at mercy when my ledger is talking. $52, $400 in transfers, $7,200 in Amex, and the general bill for letting your wife film me like a zoo exhibit while I fixed a mess I paid for." He swallowed. "She said you made her feel small," he whispered. I leaned against the workbench I built with 2x4s and a crooked back. "Tyler, buying you a house wasn't me making you small. It was me hoping you'd grow to fit it." He nodded. The first time in months I saw the boy who used to fall asleep in the back seat with a zoo map stuck to his leg. He started to speak. Stopped. Said, "What do I do?" "You get a job," I said. "You keep it. You apologize with payments, not paragraphs." I let it sit there. $500 on the first of every month for a year. $1,000 after that. Missed payment doubles. "Missed two. I sell your drums and send you the link." He laughed into his sleeve, helpless and human. "Deal," he said. "Good." I clapped his shoulder once. "You can visit me. Bring milk. I like whole." He nodded. "Okay." We didn't hug. Honesty and hugging don't always get along. If you believe older voices still matter, support this channel with a like and a subscription. Saturday, the inspection went clean. A slow drain. A note about servicing the 8 I'll see come spring. Ken walked the backyard with the gardener, discussing the lemon tree's ambitions. Madison summoned a cousin with a haircut that made him look like a furious avocado. He strutted on the driveway. Deputy Collins did not see him at all. He evaporated. Sunday, Tyler and Madison vacated. They left the keys on the acacia table like a postscript. The cat remained until Tuesday, then vanished in a carrier with holes punched like stars. The house exhaled when they were gone. It sounded like a tired man lowering himself into a chair that won't collapse. November 21st, 2023, 2:14 p.m. Glen Oaks Escrow. White walls, a ficus on life support, a receptionist with a voice that could talk a pen into signing itself. I signed. I initialed. I listened to paper slide and number speak. Sale price, $825,000. Lender payoff, $588,332.17. Taxes/fees/commissions/escrow gremlins. Everything has a mouth. Net to me, $201,947.68. Wire or cashier's check? The escrow officer asked. Wire, I said. Fidelity. My voice surprised me by not shaking. Ruth brought scones from a bakery where the sugar tastes expensive. Angela wore navy again. It suits her. Ken shook my hand and pressed a small box of lemon cookies into it. For the road, he said. His wife waved from the hallway. She has a scarf for every mood. I drove back to Sycamore to meet the movers for my last items. His house looked relieved. Ken stood in the yard and talked soil pH with a man in a straw hat. He waved. I waved. He pointed at the lemon tree and smiled. People with plans have a way of standing in space that says this will work. In the garage, Tyler waited with a plastic bin, the same one, with my screwdrivers lined up like a salute. I figured you'd want these, he said. I want you to keep your word, I said. The tools are a bonus. He looked at his shoes. We're going to Maddie's mom's. Good, I said. Take your time. Not too much. He nodded. He looked like he wanted to ask for permission to be forgiven. I looked like a man who had run out of paper to sign. We loaded the last box. Leah's mason jars, my old record player, the dented toaster that burns optimism on level 3. We said goodbye like men do. Short words, long silence. Madison did not appear. I did not expect her to. December 5th, 6:02 p.m., my apartment. Leftover chili in a dented pot. The radiator's soft complaint. A knock, polite like a waiter. Deputy Alvarez again, hat in hand. Evening, Mr. Samuels, he said. Everything okay? I asked. Chilly steam fogged my glasses. It made the world soft around the edges. We took a report, he said, from your former daughter-in-law. Claims of wrongful eviction and theft of assets. His eyebrow moved a millimeter. We advised her to seek civil counsel. Just wanted you to be aware. Thank you, I said. I meant it. Courtesy is a muscle you can keep strong even when everything else sags. He looked around my one-bedroom. Armchair with a tan blanket folded over the back. Stack of library books. Leah's photo on the shelf, hair wild. Finger pointing at something outside the frame. The lemon cookies in their small box. The place looked like a life you could sweep in 20 minutes. He nodded once, the way men do when they approve and don't want to talk about it, and left. I ate my chili. I put half in a plastic container. I washed the pot. I dried it with a dish towel that says Glen Oaks Senior Living. Bingo night. I sat by the small window and made a list. Keep tools in a plastic bin. Record player. The one that makes old songs sound older, but kinder. Photo of Leah pointing at a future she didn't get to see. Money where it grows, not where it leaks. Phone that says TY. First $500 on Friday. A plan to fly to Chicago in February. $386 on Southwest if I accept the layover, and I will. Pride that fits in a drawer. Discard. A lock that doesn't like me. The sound of Madison saying boundaries like a brand name. The idea that fatherhood is a subscription I forgot to cancel. I changed my apartment lock. Not because anyone chased me. Because I could. The key turned and the deadbolt shot home like a sentence finishing itself. I taped a small note inside the door, and I level for mornings when doubts try to rent. This is my door. Beneath it, I wrote another in small letters. This is my home. Friday 9:07 a.m. Tyler's text chimed. TY. Sent $500. Starting at the warehouse today. We'll keep it up. I swear. I stared at the screen. Leah's voice ghosted. Be generous, but don't be easy. I sent a thumbs up. Nothing else. Words can dilute a promise. 1 week later, Ken texted a photo. The acacia table sat by the window. 2 mugs steaming. Sunlight laid out like a tablecloth. His wife's scarf on the back of a chair, careless and perfect. Ken, we're happy here. I surprised myself by replying fast. Me, so am I. People tell you generosity makes you vulnerable. True. They forget to say that boundaries make you generous again. My ledger is neater. My anger is quieter. I sleep with the phone on the dresser and not under my pillow. No doors in my dreams change their minds. The lock turns. The key remembers me. The click at night is soft and on my side. On Sunday, I walked past the lemon tree at the complex. 2 tired fruits clinging, one on the ground begging to be ignored, and thought of the old place. I thought of Madison trying to own a door with her mouth. I thought of Tyler counting bills with his thumbs, his face hardening into a man's. At dinner, I heated soup and buttered sourdough. I salted the butter with 2 pinches, corrected the universe a little, turned off the TV, listened to my refrigerator. It hummed something steady. I sat. I ate. I didn't apologize to the empty chair. Everything important closed properly that night. The stew container, the book, the window, and the door made the best sound a door can make when a man of 68 turns a key. It let me in.